Remothered, Tormented Fathers has a stupid name, and it's also a stupid game. It really is quite stupid, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It is a survival horror game in the vein of Clock Tower, or Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, one of those games that have a stalker. More modern equivalents would be something like Outlast. Though in the vein of those more classic survival horrors, you've actually got a bit more of an offensive capability here. Not a great one, not one that will have you going toe-to-toe with monsters, but you're given quite a few tools to help you survive while you sneak around a decrepit old house with a spooky, weird, naked man chasing you. Now, the developers call it a realistic survival horror game. It's not. There's nothing realistic about being chased by a spooky moth-covered demon nun, but it is surprisingly atmospheric and involving for a game that graphically doesn't look all that good and mechanically is quite stodgy and a little bit sloppy. You play as Rosemary Reed, who's investigating this house owned by Mr. Felton, who is the aforementioned naked, creepy man, who sounds like Cicero from Skyrim, except instead of bantering about sweet rolls, he's calling you a cocksucker. In many ways, this game is refreshingly old-fashioned, since a lot of modern horror games do follow that Amnesia, that Outlast route, whereas this is third-person exploration, solving puzzles, limited environments, and a satisfying wad of absolutely ridiculous cutscenes. Even the dated visuals, it's clear that Daryl Arts here didn't have a great massive budget to work with, but these dated visuals even put you in the mind of a classic PS2 survival horror game. The last time survival horror as a genre was truly, truly good. Not that this game doesn't look better than a PS2 game, obviously, but there is something about these old-fashioned looking graphics that make me feel fairly nostalgic. You'll be dealing with various stalkers throughout the game, these deranged stabber-uppers who want to kill you for reasons. You know, it's a survival horror game. They want to kill you because they want to kill you. They're not the smartest cookies in the cookie drawer. There's no such thing as a cookie drawer, but that doesn't matter because the stalkers, if they've got a pattern, a route that they actively patrol, it's fairly hard to discern because it's hard for you to get a bead on them and work out exactly where they're moving because the game's very dark and there are a lot of corridors with corners. Plus, the stalkers are attracted to noise, so they will break from wherever they are if you so much as run for too long, or if you do anything that's noisy. That is one issue with the game. You've got to walk very slowly if you don't want a stalker up your ass the whole time. If you run, they will hear you, even if they're on a different floor of the house. But this is offset by the house having a lot of places to hide, and giving you a fair chance to hide as well. Even if a stalker's fairly close behind, you can duck into a wardrobe, and you're given a shot at remaining hidden by being offered a minigame where you've got a little circle and you've got to use your analog stick to keep the little circle inside a bigger circle. If you fail that, they'll drag you out of where you're hiding and you'll have to find somewhere else. You're also given things called distractions. You can pick these up throughout the house. There's loads of them, so you won't run out. And they can be used for various things, like if you find a baby doll, then you can put the doll down, it will make some noise, and the stalker will run to it, and that'll give you a chance to A, know where they are, and B, give you some time to go somewhere else and do something important. Other distractions take the form of bottles or snow globes that you can chuck at the stalker, and that'll delay them, and that's quite fun. That gives you a chance to get away and create some distance between you and them while they reel in pain or splutter because they got an eye full of detergent. You can also find rope to tie doors shut or create little tiny traps that can let you know when an enemy's nearby. In addition, you can carry a survival weapon, which is a one-shot item. You can carry that in your inventory, and it's similar to the shiv from The Last of Us, in that when you're grabbed by a stalker, you can spend your weapon to stab them up and escape, and again, create some distance while they're reeling in pain, and as I said, probably call you a cocksucker for your trouble. So you're given a generous number of options to help you survive, which is good because the game would otherwise be fairly frustrating. You're trying to solve these quite convoluted puzzles, moving slowly throughout the house, which would otherwise be agonising if the game didn't have some risk and reward factor, allowing you the opportunity to sprint and giving you some good hidey holes should that draw the enemy's attention, which it will. But god damn, those puzzles truly are convoluted. They're the sort of puzzles to which the solutions are more puzzles, and that's a little bit demoralizing. You know the sort of game. To get the key, you've got to lift the grate, but to lift the grate, you need to get the doorknob to open the door that has the crate lifting device. But to use the crate lifting device, you need 3 batteries, which you get by turning soup cans counterclockwise. But to turn the soup cans, you need the soup can turner, and the soup can turner is in the shed of mystery, and you've got to solve 5 mysteries to... It's not quite that bad, but you get the point. It's a puzzle that leads to a puzzle that leads to a puzzle, and that can grow quite tiresome, especially if you've got multiple puzzles on the go at the same time, and you feel like solving them brings you no closer to solving the other ones, so you're actually finding solutions and yet not feeling like you're making much progress. You think, brilliant, I've just solved that, but I'm back to square one. I've still got these ones and I don't know where the key for that bloody door is. And you're trying to remember where the puzzles are in the house and where you haven't explored in the house, all the while being chased by some monster, which at times stops being scary and just becomes annoying because you're trying to make progress and you feel like you're treading water. But the puzzles in and of themselves aren't so bad, it's just the contrived way in which they build on top of each other. And its core, Remothered, is a dyed-in-the-wool classic-style survival horror, and I missed it. I missed the time where these games were a lot more ubiquitous. Don't get me wrong, I love horror games like Outlast, the first-person perspective, the complete lack of defense, the running, the endless running from knife-wielding monstrosities, but this slower, considered, more methodical approach to horror is an increasingly lost art. But as wonky and mildly buggy as this game is, it brings back a lot of that old-styled flavour. Though by the name of a tiny Christ hiding in a handlebar moustache, the camera is fuck-damned particular about where it needs to be placed in order for you to be able to interact with items or pick stuff up. I don't know what quite's going on there, but sometimes I've had to wander about and wobble about the place on the spot and twist the camera about just to open a door or pick something off the floor. You'll likely see it sometimes in the footage I'm showing where I'm dilly-dallying and it looks like I'm just messing about near something. I'm trying to pick it up or use it. Also, this game commits the horror sin of being obscenely dark and having a shitey flashlight that doesn't light much up at all. Yet despite being highly flawed, Remothered, Tormented Fathers, stupid name, Tormented Fathers, possesses a ton of character and wears its many inspirations on its sleeve. You'll see all sorts of classic survival horror games called back to in this one. And if you're a mark for Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Clock Tower, Alone in the Dark, all of that jazz, then I'd recommend looking into this one. It's not a super good game, but it is a fun experience with a lot of charm for it. The cutscenes are hilariously bad, the dialogue and the subtitles are not often lined up, in fact the subtitles are frequently misspelled. There is a shoddy quality to it, but it's still an enjoyable romp, a silly, ridiculous romp. And if nothing else, the antagonists are damn memorable, especially once the game seriously goes balls to the wall nonsensical. So yeah, a thumb up, I'm enjoying it anyway.